Folks, it's time to get nerdy. It's time for Monday Night Nerd. Hope you guys are really excited. I am super excited. Hey, if you're new here, my name's Corp Cosplay. I am a cosplayer. I am a nerd. I have been doing this for so long, and this is my show, Monday Night Nerd. I'm so glad you guys could be here. We're going to be talking about cosplaying during that certain time of year that we can't talk about. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm not going to be using the words and because certain algorithms on social media don't like talking about those things because of misinformation. So I'm going to have to kind of tiptoe around those words just to make sure we don't get flagged, I don't get kicked off, and all that fun stuff. But I hope you're doing well tonight. We're going to be talking about that. But first, we got a little bit of news to talk about because we got a lot of fun things to talk about. Let's talk about Loki Season 2. So I finished Loki Season 2. It is on Disney Plus. I have to admit, first of all, I have watched every single Marvel Plus thing except for the Groot Kids show because it's a kid show. I thought that Loki Season 1 was probably one of my least favorite Marvel shows, which is surprising because there is a lot of people out there who love that series. I finished that series or that season, and I heard so many people love it. And I was like, am I the only one who doesn't? It seemed like it. But Loki Season 2, that really grabbed me. I really enjoyed Season 2. I don't want to spoil too much because the last episode just came out last week. But the way that they integrated the how do I again I don't want to spoil anything. There has been some issues with Kang being the villain, and if Marvel wants to continue with it or if they want to pull back and change their ways because of the way some of the ratings have been and the reviews, which we'll get into a little bit later. But the way that they did it in this one, I was really happy with it. I thought that they morphed the character in a way that I wasn't expecting. The Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson dynamic was absolutely on point. I've told everybody that I've talked to during the season that that's the best part of the entire series is Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson in a room talking. The camaraderie that they have is impeccable. It's perfect. I love it. I wish there was just a whole season of them sitting in a room talking because they have so much dynamic, and I hope that we get to see them interact a little more. The way the series ends, I don't know. They could, they might not. But overall, I thought it was a solid Season 2. It was 100 times better than Season 1, and I feel like the ending has really given us a chance to think of what other ways they could take that ending. It's not what you think, which I think that was probably the biggest problem with number 1 was when I saw Season 1 and I saw the way it ended, I had already had it spoiled, but I still enjoy it. And this one just made me go, okay, I'm excited to see what this path is going to take because there's 100 different ways we can go with it. So great season, Marvel. I think you're looking a lot better with this, and hopefully it goes a little further. What do we got in chat? It started off, hold. I'm just starting it. I put on hold for this on episode 2 right now. Honestly, you should go watch it. It's actually very, very good. I think with most series in general, I wouldn't even say it's a Marvel thing. I think when you hit that mid-season, it does sort of take a dip, but that's perfectly fine. There's only 6 episodes, so it's not that much of a dip. I know with other series, like I'm a big fan of the first season of Reacher, and I know Reacher Season 2 is coming out next month. There was a dip. I think there's about 10 to 12 episodes. And around episode 5, 6, 7, there was definitely a little bit of a dip that I didn't enjoy. But I definitely think with this 6 episode, almost a mini series that Marvel's going to be doing, I think it's absolutely perfect for them. So if you haven't seen it, go see Loki. I think anybody who's a Marvel fan, even if you're about the Loki character and how much they've used it, and if you're about the way Marvel is right now, go check it out. I think you're going to enjoy it. I got another bit of Marvel news, but first we're going to talk about somebody who's thrown their ring in the hat, or thrown their ring in the hat. Reverse that. Thrown their hat in the ring for who wants to play Zelda in the new live action movie. It has come out recently that Nintendo is going to be making a live action Zelda. After a billion years of this franchise being around, Nintendo, I guess off the success of the Mario movie, has decided we're going to make a live action Zelda movie. Why they haven't decided to make an animated one, I don't know, but I'm not going to complain. You're getting a live action Zelda. No cast has been announced, but Mr. Machine Gun Kelly has come out and said that he wants to play Link. And when I think of the hero of Hyrule, I think of Machine Gun Kelly. I'm sorry. They're never going to choose Machine Gun Kelly to be Link. I'm sorry. There's no way they're going to pick Machine Gun Kelly. I would do it in maybe a Saturday Night Live parody, but in a full-blown motion picture, sorry. Thank you for throwing your ring in the hat. I did it again. Throwing your hat in the ring. It's never going to happen. I'm sorry. Thank you for trying, though. I mean, Megan Fox was, she was Mrs. Transformers for a while, so I can see where they're like, well, she can do that in Transformers, I can be Link, but no, I'm sorry. I would love to see the outrage of it, though. It would be pretty funny. Let's jump into the last little bit of news, and that is, also, I didn't even have this on the news, but I did see it before I hopped on. If you're a Garfield fan, they released a Garfield trailer today for their new movie. I'm really excited for it. It does have Chris Pratt voicing Garfield, and I know everyone's saying he's voiced everything now. I completely agree, but I actually think it's a really good animated movie. I'm really excited to see. It's basically a Garfield origin story. I'm excited. I think it'll be fun. Another bit of movie news that I heard recently, and I don't know if this is legit, so don't hold this as gospel, but I heard that because of how bad Space Jam 2 did, the LeBron James one, that they had a Wile E. Coyote movie in the works that has now been fully fleshed out, and because of how bad it did, they have used it as a tax write-off, and it will no longer be seen. It's basically the exact same thing that Warner Brothers did to the Batgirl movie. And as a huge Looney Tunes fan, I'm really frustrated if that's the truth, because from what I read, this was going to be a Wile E. Coyote law movie where he's going to be suing the Acme Corporation for all of their products that backfired on him. That sounds like such a hilarious storyline. And to make it even better, Acme's lawyer was going to be John Cena. Supposedly there are images out there. Supposedly there is a little bit of footage out there. If that's what happened, I am so mad that that's not happening. I'm actually a little more mad that that's not happening than Batgirl, because I think that would be hilarious to see Wile E. Coyote in a Law and Order type movie debating the liability of Acme Corporation products and his injuries because of it. That would be an amazing movie, in my opinion. But unfortunately, from what I've heard, it is not going to happen, which Warner Brothers, you got to stop making stuff and putting in a vault and never being able to see it. It's a waste of time. WB. Anyways, last little bit of news. We got to talk about the Marvels. The Marvels came out this weekend, and everyone is reporting that they have now got the lowest opening since ever for a Marvel movie. In 15 years, they have the lowest domestic opening weekend box office, and they only made $47 million. And to a lot of people, this is the final nail in the coffin of Marvel. They hit their lowest of lows with the Marvels, $47 million. They were aiming for 80. That was their goal, but they only hit 47. First of all, what did anybody expect? If you worked for Marvel or you worked for Disney, and not even from the trailer, from the moment they announced it, I don't remember hearing anybody excited that there is going to be the Marvels / Miss Marvel 2. Like, I'm sorry, it just didn't do it for me. And I don't think it did it for anybody else. So going into this, if anybody thought that this was going to be the breakout movie of the summer or the winter, there was no way. You always knew this was going to be the low ball of the franchise or the universe, because it's the Marvels. Not many people enjoyed the original Miss Marvel. I didn't mind it, but there were so many people that despised it for various reasons that you knew this was going to be a fail no matter what. This was going to be The Flash. This was going to be Blue Beetle. Not that there's anything wrong with Blue Beetle. It's actually a very good movie. People just didn't see it. But I don't think this is the nail in the coffin. I feel like this is the last of the old Marvel. And since the CEO of Disney has come out and said that we are going to be now doing quality over quantity, I feel like this was the last bit of, we're just going to pump everything out as best we can and get as much out as we can because we want to make money. And I think Disney's realized that they needed to pull back. And I think with Daredevil taking a back seat for now and being rewritten, Blade still being in the works but not really developed yet, I think this was the last bit of an old generation. And we're now on to the future of Marvel. And I think Loki proves that. And I think that things coming down the pike, which are going to be not until I believe next year, we're okay. This is the low point, and it's all up from here. Edith in chat, I barely saw any promo for it. And that's the thing. I saw a couple trailers for it. I saw the original trailer when it came out, and then they just released another one, I want to say the week before it came out. And it was a very different take. Like, the first one was very humorous, very, girls hanging out, having fun, joking. And then the one that came out just before the trailer, or just before the movie came out, was very dark and very, the world is ending. This could be it for the Marvels, which is a very different take. And I could see what they wanted to do. They wanted to bring in a different type of audience, but it didn't work. It just didn't work. And I feel like they needed to either be very cute or very serious with it. And I feel like they couldn't do both. And they tried, and you know what happens? It never works when you try and make everybody happy. Peter Pitt had a random collab with it. That's Marvel. That's any of these comic book properties. They want to have random things here and there that try and make money. Which, to be fair, if they got a big check from Peter Pitt to be in the movie, good for Marvel. I mean, that might help pay for something later on that we enjoy. So I can never have any problem with product placement when it comes to any movies, because that means it hopefully helps something later. Folks, we are here. We are ready. I just have to do one quick thing on my phone. I know I'm kind of breaking up the show. Give me 1 second. Talk amongst yourselves. All right. Let's go into our sponsor, and then we're going to go into our main event. Sponsor, as always, if you don't know, if you're new, you should know. This is my sponsor every single week. It's the most important person here because I wouldn't be here without her. That is my wife, my beautiful, lovely wife. I would not be doing this without her. I would not have all of these great things. She is my partner. This is an equal relationship that we both do so much for each other. And I would not be the person I am without her, because she supports me in everything I do. Cosplay, podcast, acting like a fool on the internet. I greatly appreciate everything she does for me, and I would not be here without you. I love you, hun. Thank you so much. And if anybody does have a sponsor that actually wants to pay money, you can be a sponsor too, but you're going to be behind my wife. Anyways, that came out ruder than I expected. I apologize. Let's talk about the main event. Let's talk about cosplaying during a certain time of year. Again, if you missed the beginning of the show, you know what? Let's pause for a second. If you haven't yet, can you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit all those things that make this video bing, bing, bing on YouTube's algorithm? It would be greatly appreciated. I really appreciate if you guys could do that, because I know there's probably a bunch of cosplayers out there that, are looking for tips. I was one of them back in the day. And I think this video might give them a little bit of value. So if you can, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, because I do this every week and you can be a part of it. We can have a lot of fun. And yeah, thanks, guys. Anyways, we're gonna talk about cosplaying during the months of March 2020 to 2021. As people are calling it in the chat, we're gonna call it the blip. That's what we're gonna define and as the blip. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about my scenario, because that's how we're going to understand what I went through during that time of year and how I got into what this is basically. Because I honestly think without that time of year and that incident, I wouldn't be doing this. And I don't think there's a lot of people, artists especially, that would not be doing what they're doing now. I know people who used to work at Tim Hortons and are now nurses because of that free time and that stress, that extra stress that came with going through that. So yes, it was a terrible, terrible time with a terrible bunch of tragedies that I wish didn't happen. But there was a lot of people that benefited from that. During my time, I was working a full-time job. I got to admit, I wasn't at the greatest place. I really didn't enjoy the corporation I was working at, but I was at least a well-paying job that put food on my plate, kept the roof over my head. The Friday before, I think on the Wednesday, the NBA shut down and all the big stuff happened. On the Friday, I was laid off 5 minutes before I ended my week. 5 minutes. Within 5 minutes before, I was called up to my boss's office and he said, "We're laying you off for 3 months." So to say that was a shock is an understatement. I'm not going to get into how I felt about it, how I felt about the company and all the future things, but that was my situation. Within 5 minutes, I went from having a full paying job to nothing. Mind you, there was the benefits that were coming in if you signed up for it, which I did. But I was guaranteed a minimum of 3 months no work. So this is something that I think every artist, not even every artist, but I think a lot of people always say, I would do so much if I just had some free time. If I had all the time in the world, I would do so much with it. Well, that situation got dropped in my lap, or I went, okay, I don't really have any work responsibilities now. I don't have any social responsibilities because we couldn't hang out with people. I'm kind of stuck in a house all to myself. My wife was working at home as well. What do I do with that time? Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory. When I was in my teens, I'm going to give you a small taste of my history. I was a really close family member passed away, and that family member left a lot of the remaining family some income. And I had the benefit of getting some of that income, which allowed me the opportunity of not having to work until probably my I'd say 22, 23 is when I really started working. During that time where I didn't really have to care, I was able to kind of do whatever I wanted. I, would go to concerts whenever I wanted to. I was not really living with my girlfriend at the time. My friend and I, who lived in the same apartment building she did, we would get on our bikes at 10 o'clock in the morning. We would go riding across the Hamilton Mountain. We would go to Value Village, go shopping there. We would go to secondhand video game stores. We'd go there. We'd get some Subway on the way home. And then I would sit at my girlfriend's house to play video games all day and watch movies. It was the king's life. But after a certain amount of time, my girlfriend realized that she was going to work every day. I was sitting at home doing nothing. And she kind of said, "You need to go get a job. Otherwise, we're going to have a problem." So I got a job. We ended up still breaking up, but that's besides the point. I enjoyed that life. And I enjoyed that life even when I was working, because I was working a night job. And that night job turned into working till midnight, coming home and I would sit on the PlayStation till 5, 6 in the morning. And that was my life for a year until I met my wife. And then my wife really sat me down and realized I'm wasting a lot of time. And I'm now, 23, 24, 25 almost. And I'm not really doing anything. And sooner or later, I'm going to have to do something with my life. And old me loved video games. I will be completely honest. I have over 4,000 trophies on my PlayStation account because I would just play video games continuously. But what are those 4,000 trophies getting me? Nothing. What is riding around on my bikes and picking up t-shirts and video games? It's not really getting me anything. So I knew that when I had this free time during the pandemic, I said the word. When I had this time, I knew I had to do something with it. So I told myself, all right, I have to do at least 8 hours of work every day. And that is something that I hope people take into consideration when they come into a situation like this where they want to do something, they want to change something. You got to put the work into it. You got to put the hours into it. And I told myself I need to wake up and be on my computer, either learning something, reading something, building something for 8 hours a day, every single day. I could easily go down and sit, watch TV. That would take no problem at all. Or go play video games. Wouldn't take any time and wouldn't take any effort. But I had to work 8 hours a day. And I told myself that. And I had to almost treat it like an addiction because the thought of going down and playing video games was something that was always in my head. I could take a break. I could take a break. I can go down and play some video games for a little bit. Problem is, though, I wouldn't get up for 2 hours. I wouldn't get up for 3 hours. I wouldn't get up for 4 hours. So I really had to treat it like I was conquering addiction. I had to go, I'm not going to do that for an hour. I'm not going to do that for the next hour. I'm not going to do that for the next hour. And that's how I kind of built what, I don't know, I guess you'd call a hustle. I know that word's kind of thrown around in odd ways now. I look at it as I needed to build that discipline to do the work when I had the time. Because like I said, this was the first time I ever had this type of time. And I had to take advantage of it. So what did I do? Well, I started learning. For those who don't know, I work in marketing. So I already went to school for a career that helps me in things like this and building my cosplay. So I knew if I wanted to be successful at this before this was a thing, or if I wanted to become a better social media coordinator, whatever my next job was, I needed to grow. So I hate reading books. I hate it, which is hilarious because my wife is such a reader. I did realize, though, I liked audiobooks. I'm very much an audio guy. I love music. I love podcasts. So I tried audiobooks, and man, did that help. If you're not a reader, try an audiobook. I'm telling you, I don't want to say it'll change your life, but man, did it help me so much. There were so many books out there about people who are trying businesses and failing and how they changed things and made them work. There are self-motivation books. There are books for every single thing you could ever want to learn. It's kind of like this thing called the internet, but on a piece of paper. That helped so much. What's this? I started school just before the blip. Oh, that hurts. I could just imagine what that was like. Actually, a funny story I'll bring up. What's the next one? I started building cosplays because I had some time. Exactly. See? Proof positive. I know so many cosplayers who, now that they had the time, wanted to build and do extra. Because, like I said, this is something everybody always said. I can't do it because I don't have the time. I don't have the time. I come home, I relax. I don't have time. I got to work. A lot of people had time now. 5 hours per day for me, and only because I worked hard to reduce my time making more per hour. Great job doing that. If you can do that, that is an extra step that you can try your best to do. Good job being able to do that. Starting school during the blip it's funny you mentioned that. I actually have two friends. The one who actually went from working at Tim's to is now a nurse. They actually started to get their house renovated when the blip happened. They had just like moved out temporarily when everything happened. So they were staying at a hotel for like months because they couldn't come back to their house. And I believe where they were staying wasn't, they couldn't stay where they were originally. And everything shut down. So the people redoing their home had to shut down as well. So that was a cluster for them. And I can just imagine what it was like starting school during that. Going back to learning, YouTube is such a great platform to learn. If you ask any question in the world, if you type it on that search bar that's above me on YouTube, you will find the answer. It is a click away. There is always an answer to there is a billion hours of content being put on this platform, and there are a billion websites out there that will answer any question you want. So I was going through YouTube tutorials, I was going through LinkedIn Learning, and like I said, I was listening to every audiobook under the sun. And now I actually really enjoy audiobooks. I'm actually listening to a new one right now. It's called Steal Like an Artist. And the book is basically the understanding that nothing you create is ever original. All that you're doing as an artist is stealing something that someone else did and making your own version of it. I believe one of the lines was if you steal from one person, it's stealing. If you steal from multiple people, it's research, which I think is such a good line. And it's so true. I do that with cosplay all the time. If you look at my first Luigi costume, it is completely stolen from another cosplayer. But I've slowly since then morphed it into my own version. So that's going to happen if you're an artist. Don't ever think you have to do something original. There's always somebody out there. But I definitely started working on my social media because that's the way anybody gets to see each other during that period. And even today, this is the echo box this is the town square that everybody saw back in the day. We just do it digitally now with a camera, a microphone, and a pair of headphones. I knew that if I wanted to be a successful cosplayer, and I'm not saying I am a successful cosplayer, I'm saying I'm trying to be a successful cosplayer, but I knew I had to get better at my social media, and I knew I had to get better at not just photos, but audio if I can, and video. And you don't have to do all three, by the way. I see so many cosplayers out there, and I see so many people on social media think that because that's this whole social media thing, that they all have to be good at everything. That's not the case. If you're good at written word, do written word. If you're good at this, if you're good at audio and talking, do that. If you're good at doing graphics and using Canva and Photoshop, do that. And if you want to do video, do video. You're going to be good at something, or you're going to be the talent and you're going to send that stuff to somebody to make something out of that. I'm horrible at socials, but man, I'm trying. And that's the thing. It's a lot of trial and error. That's all social media really is just trial and error. That's why I see so many people who feel like they have to make the perfect social media post. You don't have to. What do you think this is? My list of episodes that I come up with are just things I want to talk about. And if people like it, like this episode I hopefully does well, great. I hope it works. But if it doesn't, I still enjoy doing it. So as long as you enjoy the post and you're posting for yourself and not posting for likes and shares and everything else, then you're doing fine, because you have to first enjoy the stuff you're doing, because otherwise you're lying to your audience. And the audience is going to pick up on that instantly. They're going to see that it's BS. So I started working on my social media, and what that entailed was posting anything, taking photos of past props, taking photos of current cosplays, taking photos of, absolutely anything I created. And I'll tell you right now, I'm terrible at taking progress shots. I will show you this right now. This is the Ultron mask that I'm working on for my Ultron Mark 1 costume. I'm going to do my darndest to make sure that this gets every photo of the build because I know I'm going to forget to do something. So I'm going to take every photo possible. I took photos of and video of everything. And that's how I started my social media. I started posting everything. I tried to post once a day because the algorithm enjoys those type of things. It knows you're going to be a regular, it knows you're going to be on here every single day. That is what it loves. And I have to shout out a cosplayer who's a local cosplayer to the Toronto area, and that is Reed Props Plus. Reed Props Plus, I met him at Fan Expo 2019. I met him in the green room. Great guy. Yacked with him a little bit about his cosplay he built. Talked to him during the con, but when he came out from when we were finished the con, or when we finished the masquerade that we did, we had a quick conversation, and I knew he's a really good guy. I felt it. I felt it when I talked to him. I'm like, this guy gets it. And when this time of the year happened, I sat down and I went, okay, let's see what this guy does. And I noticed the first thing he does is he posts a story. I don't know if he still does it because I'm just so busy, but he posts a story every single day talking about what he's working on. And I went, that's interesting because that's something I can do. I'm working on something every single day, even if it's just learning something. I'm still doing something. So let's start with that. And watching the way that he built his social media and the way that the people were interacting with them really influenced me. So I really got to give a shout out to him because I think if I wasn't sitting around paying attention to him, I probably wouldn't have understood the way Instagram specifically works. Another thing that really kept me going was a channel called Sneaky Zebra on YouTube. Sneaky Zebra is, I will praise these folks left, right, and center. They're from the UK. They put out cosplay compilation movie videos, and they haven't done a lot since, the blip. But before that, they were hitting at least 3 to 4 cons a year and doing amazing compilations. And I would watch them just on a playlist, and it kept me motivated going, I need to do these things. I need to be on one of those videos. And whether they came to Canada or not, because they never did come to Canada, but I wanted to be in one of those. And I knew if I could, I saw the cosplayers on there and I knew they're not all, Night Mage, Yaya Han and all Jessica Negri and all them. They were some amateurs. They were some professionals. And I realized that you don't have to be the best cosplayer in the world. You don't have to spend hours upon days upon weeks on a cosplay. If you want to buy it, you could still be in one of these videos. You can't compete at some of the competitions, but doesn't mean fans aren't going to enjoy it and you can't enjoy your cosplays. So watching those really made me feel good about being the cosplayer I am today. I still make a lot of my stuff, but I don't feel bad if I want to buy something because I just don't want to spend hours upon hours fighting with a cosplay that I just know I'm not at the skill level yet to build it myself. And I knew at a younger age, this is something I'm good with. I think I'm okay at video. I'm good at performing. I did a drama class growing up. I was able to get that improv skill embedded in me. So I knew I was good with these. So what I decided to do was I thought, well, me going through all of the stuff that was going through the world was interesting, but it wasn't as interesting as it could be. What if Luigi was going through it? And that caught my attention. I went, well, what would Luigi do if he was going through the blip? What would he be? He couldn't go outside and he couldn't go out with his brother and kill Koopas. What would he do? So I decided to make a YouTube series, and it's only, I think, 5 or 6, where I did what would Luigi do? And I would dress up in my Luigi costume and I would shoot and edit little snippet videos. And I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun thinking of ideas of what Luigi could do. I believe the first one was him just realizing that he had all the time in the world to kind of do nothing. So he tried meditation, he tried working out, he was reading books. And I thought, well, what else would Luigi do during that point? He'd want to probably catch up on some things. So I thought, well, why don't we do Luigi reacting to movies? That could be fun, especially because I could do the Luigi voice, which, by the way, is the most insulting Italian accent I've ever heard. I apologize to any Italians who might be watching this. But I thought that'd be interesting. And just like anything else in this world, when you start doing something, it's not going to do well. And I want to stress that. If you think that I'm doing these videos and I'm doing anything on social media for likes and views, it's not the case, because it never happens when you first start. My first video, my first Monday Night Nerd, did well because it was my first one and anybody who knew me wanted to see it. But after that, it didn't do that great. And I'll admit right now, I'm so thankful that I at least have right now at this moment 5 people here. That means a lot to me, because I think a lot of people see these thousands upon thousands of likes on social media posts. If you put 5 people in a room and they all enjoy listening to what you're saying, that's pretty good in my opinion. Maybe I'm underestimating myself, but I'm happy with that. I'm so happy that 5 of you, 4 of you, 3 of you, doesn't matter. I'm just glad somebody's watching. And if you don't, I get it. It's no big deal. I just enjoy doing this. But it was really fun doing these little things. And again, I wasn't looking for a reaction. Another thing, if this is another thing I struggle with, and I think probably some of you struggle with this as well. I use the excuse, and I will fully admit as an excuse, I can't do something because I don't have the tech to do it. I don't have, at the time, I didn't have a tripod. I didn't have lighting. I didn't have all of these things. And I said to myself, well, then I just can't do it. I'm done. I don't have the tech. I'm just done. That's such a cop-out. And I had to tell myself, there's no way that can't be the end. That can't be the period. So what did I do? I made myself a tripod. And I made myself a tripod, and I just recorded off my phone. And the way I made a tripod was I got a toilet paper roll, and I put my phone on it, and I measured how wide it is, and I cut a slit on either side of the toilet paper roll, and I sat my phone in it. And that was my tripod. All of those videos were shot that way. Right now, I have a ring light in front of me with 2 grips. For one's holding the camera and one is for when I hold my phone for the pre-show. I didn't have that. I had a toilet paper roll with a little slit in it that my phone sat in. And if I needed to make it higher or lower, I would just add books or a block or something underneath it to make it that high. That's how I had to do these things. But it taught me to innovate, and it taught me to work with what I have instead of going, well, I need a $20 tripod or a $50 tripod. Like, it's just not in your means. Figure it out. DIY. I think those are the perfect letters to go along with cosplay. Do it yourself. DIY your things, because believe me, you'll feel better after. You'll feel better after because you'll show that you pushed through the problem and made it on the other side. It was really fun doing those videos. I really enjoyed doing them. And the thing that happened that really shocked me, and it really motivated me to do stuff like this and cosplay more and do more videos in general, was I was working on a video one day and I got a message. And this message came from somebody who I hadn't talked to in years. And I hadn't, even when I did talk to them, they were actually a friend of a friend. They were a friend of my girlfriend at the time. And we weren't, there was nothing hostile between us, but we just were associates at that point. We were both friends with my girlfriend, and that was it. And she messaged me and she said, the Luigi videos you're doing, they're pretty funny. When my daughter, who was, I think, 5 or 6 at the time, she said, we like to sit down at night and we'll watch your Luigi videos. And she gets a really big kick out of it. If you could, do you mind sending her a hello message and wishing her the best? And I kind of sat there like, wait, this is a person who I hadn't talked to in years. And she is getting together with her daughter at night and putting on YouTube and watching me play a Luigi character. And not a great Luigi character, by the way. And they're enjoying it. They don't care what the costume looks like. They don't care about how it's made. They don't care that at one point in one video, I look around and say, it may look like a cosplay room, but it's really the Mushroom Kingdom. They don't care about that. They're just enjoying watching me make an idiot of myself. That really hit me and really made me go, I'm doing something here that I'm not realizing. I'm doing something that may give people something. It may help people something. And maybe this is the one thing that maybe is getting her daughter through this crazy time that she's not ready for. So I made that well wishes message and I sent it to them. And she said that meant so much to her. She was so happy to get that message. And I felt so good giving that message. And I've done messages like that for friends of, my buddy Tom, who I've talked to about on the podcast. His son loves the character as well. And I've done, well wishes messages to him, and he recorded them. And he says, it's Luigi. And I think at one point they watched it and he said, it's Uncle Mike. And I'm like, he sees through it, but it doesn't matter because he's still enjoying it. So when you're doing your cosplay, when you're creating art, it doesn't even have to be cosplay. When it's a painting, when it's a drawing, when it's music, when it's anything, realize that you might not see the value in it. You might see all the flaws in it, because as an artist, we all see all the flaws. But realize that someone out there, even if it's one person, may be enjoying that, and that might be making their day just a little bit better. And isn't that the reason why you're creating your art, is to make people feel better? I hope it is. So once I got that message, I realized I need to really do this because people seem to enjoy it. And the year before that, before everything happened in 2019, I was on stage at Fan Expo and I got a big ovation for Luigi. And I actually got called back on stage to improv with the host as Luigi. And then I had the crowd call me back up a second time and improv as Luigi. So within that year, I had my peers tell me I was doing good. I had the audience tell me I was doing good. I had, at that point, an old friend / almost a stranger tell me I was doing good. But the one that impacted me the most was knowing that a family was watching me and they enjoyed it. So even though we're in a world where we don't really say how much, we appreciate certain things, we probably should say to each other, this means a lot to me that you're doing this, and etc. We should be way more complimentive than we are. But make sure to do that. Make sure if you like something, send even just a DM, even just a shout out, something. Tell the artist that that you like it, because it could mean more than to that artist. They might be struggling, and that might be that little bit that just kicks them into overdrive. once the 3 months were up, I was called back to work, and I'll fully admit I did not want to go back for multiple reasons. Not A, because I didn't like the company, but B, I was enjoying this. I was enjoying creating. I was enjoying building. But I knew to keep this going, I kind of need a steady income to do it. So I went back, but I knew I couldn't stop this. I knew at this point I had that drive inside me, and I knew I needed to push on and keep building and keep driving. So I kept doing it, and I've continued to do it ever since. I think I'm posting every single day on some social media. I should be doing more, but everybody's got their limits on how much they can do in a day. But in conclusion to all this, when you have the time, I don't think we're going to be going through what we did again, thankfully, hopefully. But if you get any time and you want to create, try your best to create. Put in that discipline and tell yourself, this is something that's going to possibly get to something bigger. It's going to help you grow. Even if, I am the king of not wanting to fail. I grew up hating failure. I BS'd around every corner to not fail. But I'm telling you this to tell myself this. Failing is good. Failing is learning. Failing and having that time to process what went wrong is what every artist needs. So doing that, enjoying the time you have, because, when everything was up, I was really frustrated, but I had that time, thankfully, to grow. Edith, I really hope my decision to go back to school will be worth it. Edith, it is so worth it. It is so worth it for so many reasons that you will never understand until it happens. If it works out, you have the career you've always wanted. If it doesn't, you can at least say you tried, because in the end, if you didn't, you're always going to have that self-doubt. What if I did? Those are the two words that I hate. What if? What if this happened? But you at least say you tried. And I believe me, Edith, for what I've seen of yours, it's going to work. So in conclusion, like I said, the things I can tell you guys is, if you want to learn something, there are a million platforms out there to learn it. Whatever way you want to. Written word, from books, you want to watch a YouTube video, you want to read a blog, you want to listen to an audiobook, everything's out there for you to learn. If you want some inspiration, save your inspirations to a board, save your inspirations to a folder on your Google, whatever you need to do, whatever those things are, that will get you motivated to do whatever it is you want to pursue. If you want to do something like, do a podcast, do a YouTube video, whatever it is, just do it. Who cares what the quality looks like? Who cares what response you get? Just do it. Gonna be Shia LaBeouf. Just do it. Just do it. Because you know what? You're gonna enjoy it. And that's what matters. Not the likes, not the subscribes. I know that I love having them, but just go out and do it. Just go out and enjoy the process. Enjoy your time. Enjoy creating, because the applause from a crowd when I'm in cosplay is great, but getting a direct message from someone like my friend's daughter telling me that she loved me doing a cosplay, it's one of the best feelings I've ever had. So, folks, I think that's it for tonight. We're at the 50-minute mark. We're going to cut it a little early. We got one last thing to talk about before we hit the road. We got a song of the week. Now, I've been jumping back and forth on what that song is going to be. I have a couple different ideas, but I think I'm going to go with this one, because when I was driving home today, this song came on my playlist, and I forgot how much I enjoyed this song and how much I actually enjoyed this band. There is I'm going to butcher it, so I'm just going to hop on and do it quickly, because I know I'm going to get it wrong, and I don't want to get it wrong because they're actually a really good band. They are a German. I thought they were. They were a German power metal band called Powerwolf. They are amazing. I've been a fan of theirs since the pandemic. And one of my first songs from them is called Killers in the Cross. It is a great song. It is a great metal band. Go check them out. I'm going to throw the video into the playlist after the show is done. It is I love it so much. Folks, I hope you had a great week. I hope you had a great episode. Thank you all for sticking around. If you haven't yet, please hit that like button. I'd greatly appreciate it. Press that subscribe button. That also helps the channel. Folks, next week, we're going to try something different. We haven't done this before, and hopefully the internet signal and everything holds up. If it doesn't, we're going to work with it. Next week, we're going to have the Geeks & Co. folks here on the show. We're going to have all three of them. We're going to have Rob, we're going to have JS, we're going to have Jeff, and we're going to be on here talking about them. They have a podcast, the Geeks & Co. Show, the Geeks Boutique podcast every Thursday on their YouTube page. And they always talk to their guests about all of their cosplay stuff. Well, I've known them for over a year, almost 2 years, and I don't know anything about them. So we're going to have them on. We're going to talk to them, talk about how they're wanting to grow the cosplay community in Ontario. And it's going to be an absolute blast. If you enjoyed Dave Thorne being on the show, you're going to enjoy the next one. We're going to have a blast. And if, for example, and I'm going to make sure everyone knows this, if there are internet issues and we do get kicked because my internet's hit and miss sometimes, and we're going to have 4 people streaming at the same time, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to record. I'm just going to hit play or record, and I'm just going to let it go. And if we get kicked, I'm just going to post the video at the end of the show so you guys can watch it there. I don't want to have to fight with the system. And if it keeps kicking because of how many people, I don't want to frustrate everybody by having to find new links and stuff. So I'm going to try it from the beginning. If it kicks, we're just going to keep rolling, and I'll throw the episode up at the end of the night. Folks, thank you for sticking around. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed the show. I will be back next week with the Geeks & Co. folks. Try to think, is there anything else? I don't think there's anything else. Hope you have a great night. I will see you all next week. Stay nerdy. Have a good night, folks. See you later. Hey, thanks for watching Monday Night Nerd. If you enjoyed this content, please hit the subscribe button, like this content, and follow on social media for even more nerdy fun. See you soon.